doamnelor și domnilor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our topic of discussion during this high-level panel is the Russian hybrid warfare in Europe. The Republic of Moldova and Romania have become in turns, as well as simultaneously, grounds for testing all sorts of hybrid interference, electoral, hybrid warfare, sophisticated warfare, illegal funding of political actors, cyber attacks towards critical infrastructure, as well as the violation of the airspace in order to test the European level of reaction. Europe has resisted strongly thanks to our European partners. Romania, in its turn, has lived equal situations during the previous elections. Romania has responded through the resilience of the institutions and by reconfirming the democratic alliance through vote. For us, the Republic of Moldova, in Romania, we look towards Romania as towards a NATO member state and an EU member state, and for us, Romania remains an anchor and fundamental support for our European strategy and road ahead. We build the European shield to protect our democracy. We have two special guests this evening that not only speak about this topic but also bear the responsibility to supervise the answer to this interference. One more thing, if I'm not mistaken, it will be the first time when the presidents of the lawmakers in the Republic of Moldova and Romania come together to speak about this topic. I'm glad that the forum is the host of such a meeting. Now I'd like to invite for first intervention His Excellency Mr. Mircea ABRUDEAN, the President of the Senate of Romania. You have the floor.
Bună seara tuturor.
I believe you had a day filled of interesting discussions. I think it's quite late, so we are trying to be brief. I'd also like to thank my colleague and my friend Igor GROSU for his understanding, because he was supposed to be the first to speak as a guest. But as you well know, we have a very complicated situation we are facing today in Romania, so I must go elsewhere as fast as I can. I'm going to be as brief as I can, and I'm going to keep my speech to the point. As already mentioned, it is important that the Black Sea and Balkan Security Forum is at a moment when Bucharest is reaffirming its strategic role. Tomorrow, as you all know, while you will be debating the nuances of the Russian hybrid warfare in Europe, in Cotroceni, we will have the summit of Bucharest 9B9, and getting together the leaders of the eastern flanks of the northern countries, as well as the General Secretary of NATO, Mark Rutte. I think this overlapping is not a coincidence. It is the real proof that Romania is an anchor of stability in the extended region of the Black Sea, and I believe many of you have been speaking about this. The presence of Romania and of its partners in this forum under the high patronage of the President of Romania proves that not only do we analyze the threats, but we also analyze the solutions. The message of the B9 summit is very clear. Unity is our greatest shield, and the decisions made there will finalize the deterrence architecture for the year to come. The panel this evening focuses on the idea that Russian hybrid warfare is not a possibility, but unfortunately a daily reality that we also fight against in Romania. We see how the conventional warfare in Ukraine is doubled by a subtle interference of our society, high-range dissatisfaction. As the President of Romanian Senate, I'd like to tell you that the first level of affair is done through legislation. Russia is trying to fragment European unity. What should be our response? We should protect the electoral processes. They have been mentioned before. We should secure the information space, and we should prove that democracy is more agile than authoritariety. Modern Europe is not only a modern army, but also an intelligent society able to distinguish truth from propaganda. The Republic of Moldova is not just a neighbor. I spoke earlier with the President of the Parliament of the Republic of Moldova about our collaboration. Chișinău is on the front line of this hybrid warfare. They are under political and energy pressures with no precedent. The unity of the path Chișinău is following to become a member of the EU is highly important, and in order not to leave room for instability, the European path followed by the Republic of Moldova should be very clear. The fact that Moldova is at the border with Ukraine turns it into a logistic pillar, and Romania will continue to be the strongest supporter of the integration of the Republic of Moldova into the EU, because the stability of the Republic of Moldova is also equal to our security. Romanian security is supported by two essential pillars: the membership of NATO and the strategic partnership with the US. And our strategic army force is important. We are not just a frontier, but we are a control center, an energy hub given the resources in the Black Sea, and a source of investment in defense. Our commitment to allocate significant resource for defense, important topic for the B9 summit, shows that we understand the world today. Romania is a pillar of security at the Black Sea for the whole world. We are the kilometer zero for the North Atlantic security, and the security issues are interconnected. Stability here influences the economies of the Western countries, the energy independence, and the food supply chains. So we owe it to the future generations to stick together in Europe and in NATO. And the B9 summit, as well as this security forum, proves that we are not alone. Our strength together is not just a theoretical projection. It has geographical coordinates that are precise on the Romanian map. The fact that soldiers in France present in Cincu base, together with armies from Belgium and other ally countries trained alongside Romanian soldiers, turns this center into an interoperability center. Cincu is not just a training camp, it's the real proof of the high-level defense, and the presence of Luxembourg and France at the heart of Transylvania shows a proof of defense that any threat to Romania is a threat to the alliance. This collaboration, as a mere example, shows that we are not alone in front of challenges, but we are a part of a cohesive mechanism, a synergetic mechanism able and ready to answer any threat. So we can turn these challenges into opportunities to build a highly articulated Europe able to design and to project its values strongly. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your attendance, for the topics you've been discussing, for the high quality of the speakers on stage. And I'd like to congratulate the organizers, just like every year, because they have come to surpass themselves time and time again. Good luck in everything you're doing, and see you again soon.
Thank you so much, President ABRUDEAN. And indeed, we understand that you have a very comprehensive agenda today. We will now go on with Mr. Igor GROSU, President of the Moldovan Parliament. I would like to invite you onto the stage. Please tell us some words about Chișinău's experience, about the way in which Moldova is resilient, is resisting. It is a country at the frontier of this hybrid war. We have seen the response of the society, of the Moldovan institutions. Now we would like to hear your opinion, to listen to your opinion. Good evening, everybody. I'm so glad to be back for this event, which has become a tradition, and I'd like to thank the organizers for not having forgotten us. It's good to see familiar faces, new faces as well, a lot of expertise, of know-how. It's a good opportunity for us to speak about our modest experience in terms of how to defend our country, on how to counteract those outer interferences in our domestic political affairs. It is true, last year an electoral cycle was ended. It was a bit more special because instead of having 3 electoral processes, we had 4 electoral cycles, including referendum. I'm telling you this because I want to provide to you, to facilitate to you this image, us being on action all the time in terms of interferences, especially in our electoral affairs. Between the electoral cycles, we were dealing with other topics like refugee crisis, energy crisis, logistics, and some other challenges. We are speaking here about the Russian Federation, which cynically enough has used vulnerabilities, our weak points, but this is also valid for other countries, all countries. Things that we have not done as a country in due time, and what I mean here is a better organization, or a better, that is a fair organization of electoral campaigns. This was a weak point we needed to correct. And everything starts with the financing, how political parties and electoral campaigns are funded. This is Achilles' heel. If you are not looking at this as a state, and if you don't care about the fairness of funding of political parties, of electoral campaigns, then you take the risk to expose your political system, your electoral system, to very cynical interferences. We have learned our lesson from the very time where in the Republic of Moldova oligarchs were dominant, who had unlimited resources. We had to limit ourselves, that is to limit the funding, to impose requirements concerning transparency of the money used for funding, and most importantly, not only to come up with a coherent legislation, fair legislation. More important than that is to empower, that is to build capabilities, that is invest in institutions that monitor these processes. You know, in Romania you have had similar challenges in terms of, and I can tell you that the way in which political parties and electoral campaigns are funded impacts the way in which democracy is working. The party, the political party, as soon as it gains the power, that political party will shape the state institutions. We have succeeded in doing this. Moreover, in terms of illegal funding, and I can tell you that the funding instruments, that is the instruments, the tools for illegal funding is evolving from one electoral cycle to the other, especially now where Russia is disconnected from the SWIFT system. Some more sophisticated funding systems have been developed, and again we have to learn from each other, because things that are used in Moldova are also used in Romania or will be used in Romania. The idea is in what country one or the other system will be first employed. It is very important beyond the behavior of institutions, which has to be aligned. Very important is the people, how they position themselves. If I am now looking back, I can tell you that we have succeeded in attracting, keeping people with us on our side. It has not been easy. Each time we had to communicate proactively to have the civil society on our side, the media, especially the investigation media, which oftentimes is more is smarter or gets there where institutions cannot, and oftentimes they are more credible in terms of conveying messages to the society. So this is a whole range of factors which has helped us a lot. We also got the support of our development partners in a world where crime is transborder, has a transborder character, where state actors also try to intervene, to interfere. Cooperation among states is of utmost importance in order to deter, and we want to thank to our partners, to Romania, to specialized institutions, intelligence institutions that we have worked with and which has enabled us to see something.
It has helped us to preserve our electoral process. The conclusion is simple. At the same time, it's also complicated, so we must remain vigilant. Nothing ends, even at the end of the elections, upon the validation of the results. The interference does not stop there. We are subject to an ongoing cognitive warfare, which of course does not compare to conventional warfare. This cognitive information hybrid warfare has almost completely migrated to social media platforms. Social media has turned into an electoral infrastructure, a permanent infrastructure designed to intoxicate and to misinform. I'm referring to Facebook, to TikTok, to YouTube. And now we are facing a new challenge that small countries such as the Republic of Moldova cannot face or deter these threats by themselves. We are facing the trial to somehow impose some rules to the non-state actors that use these platforms when interfering with our internal political processes. We need to have a common voice, the voice of democratic societies and countries, to protect our citizens, our children. I'm also speaking as a parent because this is a challenge to our educational systems as well. How do we protect our children against all of these elements and dangerous threats? In the entire information space of our countries. I could answer direct questions you might have anyways. The Republic of Moldova, with our modest experience, we are ready to share our experience and knowledge to everyone else, and we'd like to also share from your knowledge and experience. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Please have a seat. I think we've still got about 10 minutes of this panel, so I'd like to take advantage of this opportunity and have a conversation with you, if I may. A message probably that maybe the people in Moscow wouldn't be happy to hear. During the past few years, Kremlin has done a lot to strengthen strategic cohesion, to strengthen European cooperation, to determine the Republic of Moldova to settle or deal with several internal vulnerabilities rather than the documents signed in Brussels or in Chisinau. Of course, that is not what Kremlin has expected to see at the end of their activities. Mr. GROSU, something that bothers me. We've seen how the Republic of Moldova has been able to deal with the hybrid interference tools that have adapted, have improved in time. But we also know that Russia has been adapting and adjusting their own approach and their own tools. In the past electoral cycle, we've managed to survive because we realized that the response to such threats is unity in action. And the common response of the society, well, the European Union has been thinking and is now working on a shield, a European democratic shield, but in Chisinau, in the law-making seat in Chisinau, what are a few things that you can do so that the response of the Republic of Moldova is not one to be the response to a threat, but however, is an effective move for the next period of time, given that our objectives are very clear, our direction is very clear. Russia, by adapting their own tools, will attempt to change our path, will try to exploit our vulnerabilities. How can we strengthen our country? How can we deal with the existing vulnerabilities so as to also meet our European accession goals? And how can we get rid of all sorts of dependencies or tools that Russia has been trying to use against us? Well, I divide things into, first of all, the citizens. The citizens should be informed from the root source. They should have access to credible information sources. So it's our duty to protect our information space. And we can't do things by half measures. Probably you've heard that the Audiovisual Council has withdrawn the licenses of some broadcasters in Moldova. It wasn't the most pleasant measure. Some observers criticized us for that. I believe that one of the achievements we've had is that we've managed to empower the Audiovisual Council to work professionally, documenting, monitoring their activities and the activities of the broadcasters. We've managed to have an agreement with the management of the Audiovisual Council so as to also work online. It was to be expected that some of the televisions that only did propaganda shows migrated very quickly towards online live TV. So it's more difficult and complicated to be monitored without the proper tools. The Audiovisual Council needed time to adapt. So that would be first. The citizens should be protected. We need to communicate proactively the information towards them. Secondly, the institutions. When I speak about institutions, I speak about all sorts of monitoring and supervision institutions, the media institutions that should be supported, strengthened financially speaking. Justice, the justice system should also very well investigate and document their moves, their measures, and then a very clear role should be that of the Parliament to provide the legal framework and be sensitive to the changes or the recommendations coming from the civil societies, from the actors. We should communicate actively and proactively with our citizens. What's at stake, or the objective, because you mentioned earlier the Russian Federation. The Russian Federation's aim should not be underestimated. They wanted to undermine the citizens' trust in the institutions. I'm going to give you a very painful example. False calls with bombs in critical infrastructure of the state. I'm not going to give examples so as not to give any ideas to anyone. When we've got such constant threats used as tools and the state finds that they're false, the state should intervene, and that leads to discomfort, to barriers, to frustrations, fears, justified actually, because an institution stops working. Everyone is asked to clear the premises, the information leads to disinformation, that leads to mistrust. Our function of the institutions, of the society at large, is to develop antibodies, if I may, by behavior, through listening to the information from the source, a credible source of information. And we should not take all sorts of information at the level of the word, such as through Telegram. This level of trust is built in time. We need to educate the public at large to increase the trust that the state will be there next to the citizens, supporting them. Regarding the propaganda or the interference, they will not reach their target. Of course, We've got a lot of challenges ahead of us. So we've managed to develop an institution that attempts to identify and anticipate the new lines of conventional attack, let's say. Because during the electoral campaigns, there are some vectors that are being used during the electoral campaign. Of course, the European integration process has the European states and the NATO member states as being the targets of this propaganda. We need to identify all of these threats timely. We need to communicate with the competent institutions that need to send information proactively to the citizens. We need to attest the situations. We need to see how high the damage can be. And there's one more message I'd like to convey regarding the role of the church. We have a special experience in this respect. And the role of the church in electoral campaign or during more intense political situations should not be underestimated. We also need to have clear communication and decisive actions when things derail, to be more diplomatic. The church is an institution with a high yield, with a high influence at the level of the society. By that, I mean the entire Romanian space. So the power of the church should not be underestimated. This is also a very sensitive topic that we need to have a look at very carefully.
5 minute.
Thank you for your answer. We still have 5 minutes time, so one more question. You have mentioned already one of the targets for hybrid interferences is deterrence, undermining trust. In your opinion, because you have full experience derived from your parliamentary activity. So based on your experience, what do you think is not done sufficiently, or what is doing the parliament, or what are state institutions doing in order to demolish fences between institutions, population, and we have seen some efforts for dialogue. But this is only an example. Within the society, there are probably more attempts at separating the population. We have seen the activity of the Commission for European Integration, and this is an example for a constructive dialogue where opposition and the government are speaking about an agenda in a focused way. And a very important role have those who moderate this dialogue. You, as a member of the parliament, how do you improve? How are you trying to improve the situation? And how are you trying to build bridges by demolishing fences? Thank you for this question. I'm ready to build bridges with those who want to build bridges. We, within our parliament, we have members of the parliament in the opposition willing to build bridges. And there are some who only want to demolish things, fences. Usually, it's those members of the parliament who are serving a Russian agenda within the parliament of the Republic of Moldova. And this can be seen when you speak with them about concrete things, where ideology is not important, where you are speaking about down-to-earth things, about logistics, constructions, projects. But there are good examples, and we have shown we are open. We have had blockages which were created by local representatives in GROZA. We didn't intervene in order not to be accused of interferences. But the last discussions concerning finding a way to organize elections in the National Assembly, and we have spoken with people from GROZA. They understand the reality. They do not always admit into having been bought by the Russian Federation. And the parliament, indeed, the parliamentary activity is about compromise, about dialogue, about messages, about a conduct, the behavior which we have to convey to the society. Of course, we also have in our parliament members of the parliament that are of a more populistic approach, or who are trying to impose foreign narratives. It's a trend at global level. But I think that what we are calling parliamentary democracy is still less explored by us. Parliamentary democracy, dialogue within the parliament and with other parliaments, and bottom line communication with the citizens. It's our duty to explain to the people why we take another decision, one decision or the other. And of course, we need to counteract those fake news, those narratives that are meant to compromise the electoral process, that are meant to discredit our forces and our parliament and our friends. Thank you so much for this discussion. We are approaching the end of this panel. Before closing, I would like to draw some conclusions. We have talked more about domestic issues, about vulnerabilities, and this is indeed a solution in order to increase resilience to hybrid threats. And beyond all this, the second conclusion, I think, relates to the effort, because the response to the hybrid threat has to involve as many actors as possible at national level. And even more important, what is needed is a coordinated, extended effort. We need this European shield of democracy, where Republic of Moldova is participating, is contributing, and I think this can be also the medium-term solution for dealing with non-conventional threats and delivering the efficient answer to these threats. So once again, thank you for your participation, for your position and contribution, and also I would like to thank the participants for having listened to us.